Hello and welcome. You are watching Journalists. My name is Millicent Aroka, and this is a show that is done specifically to give journalists a listening ear to get to, hear about their stories. My feeling has always been that journalists talk about other people's stories and they never get the chance to talk about their own stories. That is why we have this show, Journalists, and we'll be having those who do everything. The producers of the programs, the editors, the presenters, those in the technical department. You'll get to know what happens behind the scenes for you to be able to watch something on television or listen to it on radio. And today I have with me in studio Nick Omondi. Nick Omondi is a newsreader, one of the best in this country, but there is a twist to it. He's also a technical guy, and he'll be telling us about that. Nick?
Yes.
COVID bag.
Thank you so much, Millicent, for having me over. Yes.
Oh, it's such a pleasure, I tell you.
It is a pleasure.
Yes. And before we get to his technical side, and even to get to know about Nick, who is Nick, does he have family, everything about Nick, we'll get to know about it today. But I want you to have just a sneak preview of who Nick is. So Nick, we're going to ask you to at least just read for us.
Really?
Just an article. Take a minute.
We're going to talk.
Yeah, we're going to talk. But somebody who's just watching Nick for the very first time, I want them to have a feeling of why I have you here.
Okay.
So just read it all.
All right, I'll share with you just a clip of some of my works in the studios.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me see if I can get something.
Let's have that. Some script, if you can.
Yeah.
Yeah, for people to just get to know how does Nick read.
Oh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
In some of the news making local headlines, the Paxton Museum at the Outspring Hotel in Nyeri, which houses relics of the founder of the World Scouting movement, Lord Baden-Powell, will be safe even after it is taken over by a new proprietor. Kenya Scouts Association International Commissioner Anthony Gitonga said that the association had also received assurance from the current owners, Aberdare Safari Hotel, that the status of the Paxton Museum is already secured.
See that? My cameraman is just loving it.
Wow,
that is just so beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I'll tell you this, the very first time before I got into reading news myself, I was passing somewhere, for those of you who do not know BH, that's the broadcasting house in KBC. And I was passing by the VIP studio.
The VIP studio?
Yes.
Yeah.
And you were there reading something with Grace Matengo.
Grace Matengo, yeah, we read for quite a while, Together, Grace,
Yeah. So I heard it, I was just passing. I came back, I was like, what? Can I get to see those people who are reading? Because this is something I'd love to do.
Yes.
But that people doing it so well. I'd love to learn from them, And that, just started my journey. And so I've always just felt so indebted that I was in a team that was really good.
We're glad we impacted in you in one way or another.
Yeah. That was really good. But let's get to know about Nick, Who is Nick? Where did Nick go to school? That those who want to know, speaking like that, does it come with the school you go to, or it's just, that personal initiative that one has? Tell us about that.
Wow, I don't know how many people know about this, but I'm still proud up to this day of having gone to Heshima Road Primary School. Heshima Road Primary School. In the Sheng lingo we say, Sisi ni watu wa mtaa. Heshima Road Primary School, next to Shorimoyo, and a city. It was a city council school.
Oh, so we don't have to go to group of schools?
No.
That's going to be quite
group of schools for
many.
Yeah.
That they can make it from anywhere.
Yes. Heshima Road Primary School from class 1 all the way to class 7. Yeah. Then from there I went to it was technical high school then. Nairobi Technical Institute now. Yeah, and then from there I went to Upper Hill High School. Yeah, and then from Upper Hill High School I went to Kenyatta University. Then it was J.K. Cart in Kenyatta College of Agriculture and Technology. And so from there, straight from Jomo Kenyatta to KBC.
It's interesting that you actually talk about the technical school, and that just introduces us to who you really are beyond the reading. So we'll get to how you started reading, but Nick is actually a technical guy.
Yes.
So how did you get into that? Let's give it to us what you really loved from the beginning. It was machines.
From the beginning, I was intrigued by machines, you know, because I actually wanted to become a pilot because I was very much interested in, you know, controls and stuff like that. But after getting into technical high school that time, then there were issues technical that were I found myself doing so well in them.
Wow.
The things, you know, that I was doing with my hands, I found that, you know, I was doing them so well. And the class that we were in, you know, most of the guys were so passionate about these things. The electrical stuff, you know, the metalwork stuff, you know, and all that, you know, just working with our hands and, you know, things like drawings, what they call the technical drawings and all that. So the engineering aspect or the technical aspect of things, you know, from then on, you know, it like, you know, had some kind of a very big bearing in what really I was going to do later on. Yeah.
So at KBC, what you are really employed to do beyond the news reading is actually the technical. Give us a little about what
basically the technical
at work.
Yeah, I would say that I'm kind of very well privileged, because when you talk about technical, actually working each and every other technical, you know, part of the corporation, because the nerve center of radio, for example, in KBC, will be what we call the central apparatus, that actually takes care of all the radio studios. You know that.
What we call the CAR.
The CAR, yes. And that was my very first posting. And then apart from the radio studios now, what happens is that you go out into the transmitter stations, whereby now you transmit, you know, the signals all over the country. So I worked in the transmitter stations for quite a long time. And then later on, of course, after that, I gotten into a section that was very interesting, whereby a small unit that was actually set up at the Langata station. The Langata station was actually supposed to be a training hub for technical people, and also for coming up with new, you know, broadcast and transmission ideas. You know, it was, we called it a management and training center. Yeah, so I was there with a couple of colleagues from KBC, and we were able to put together, you know, transmitters and build up transmitters, you know, from leftover, what you call spares and all that. And we actually put up a number of transmitters. If you've heard of Shoro FM, the very first transmitter of Shoro FM was actually done, you know, by knockdown kits that we put up together. We didn't have to buy anything, so we put it up together, and then we went transmitting in Nyeri that time, and then we put up another transmitter, one transmitter, put it up together right from scratch.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So, and then we did we've done a lot of technical stuff, really. And
even the coming of Signet and stuff like that.
Yeah, when Signet came,
watched the digital.
Yeah, the digital changeover and all that. Actually, what happened is that when we talk about digital video broadcasting, me, I think, and a number of colleagues from KBC, it's 6 of us actually. I would say that we're pioneers in the whole country. Yeah, we took some training, some in France, some in China, and so we got to learn firsthand what video broadcasting is all about. And so when Signet came, we were the first people technically to read that Signet and to be able to see, you know, the intrigues of digital video broadcasting taking shape. You know,
Wow.
So I think personally, and that is why I'm saying, you know, technically speaking, you know, within the corporation KBC, I've been privileged, you know, to be virtually in all, you know, technical aspects of the corporation.
Yeah. We like talking about, and this is one of the things I love about KBC, the fact that it was the only, you know, media house in the country for quite a while. And that means that if you ever had an issue, it would affect the country so severely. So I want you to give us some of those instances when you know something ever happened that was really crazy, and it was like things are coming to a standstill because you see the technical guys, something has either gone wrong, and just to show just how important it is for the technical guys to actually be looked at in a great light, because it is from you that every other thing is broadcasted. But there are instances like that.
Wow, there were, because, and this is because, you know, like, let's pick the central operators room, for example. It is basically the nerve center for radio, and it had been for the longest time. It still is. And if anything happened in the central operators room, then basically the whole country would feel it. Yeah. Now, luckily for now, we can say that maybe things are a little bit easy because we have numerous, you know, broadcasting stations. And
but you're still the national broadcaster. When something goes wrong, everyone is like,
that
what
is very
happened
true.
at KBC? It's very different.
Yeah,
from
that is
other
very
ones.
true.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember it must have been somewhere around late 80s or very early 90s. And we are very new in the CMR. Me and my colleague is called William Onia. He's still there, a very good friend of mine. So we were at the central operators room in the morning, and it was around September. I can remember because it was during the Nairobi International Show.
What we call the agricultural show.
The agricultural show now. And we were there manning the CAR, and apparently there was supposed to be a presidential program from State House. That time Moi was the president, of course. And so we normally have the OB crew go into location, and then, you know, they do the connections and all that for the sound and all that. For radio, it is just sound, you know, so they have their sound in order, and then they ensure that the sound reaches CAR. From CAR, the sound actually goes to the studio, so that the studio person can be able to get in touch with the person on location, be able to know what is happening on location, so that in case that they need to go to the location live, then for the listener at home will actually hear that, oh, now we are going from the studio onto the location for the live event.
For the presenter, it's pushing the OB.
Yeah, the OB. Yeah, the outside broadcaster. You're on the mixer. You know, you normally have your those faders and all that, and you only need to pull up a fader. You know what? You know that. So here we are, and all the connection through for the OB from State House, you know, all the way to CAR to the studio. It was complete. And we said, our work is done, and we could. Who was on location? None other than, you know, the iconic, you know, legendary broadcaster Leonard Mambo himself. So Leonard Mambo, we could get him from location. And once we got him to the location, just to ensure that whatever he's broadcasting from location, if anything he's broadcasting is also reaching the studios. So me and my friend, you know, William, now we took a walk to the studios, and who was in the studio? None other than another legendary broadcaster, Elizabeth Obege. Very big names. And us guys, we were small guys that time, you know, so we are just trying to ensure that things, you know, are working right. So immediately Obege saw us because she was the studio is wired in such a manner that if there is an OB happening, you can actually be able to listen. So she saw us and said, sawa, nimempata Lenny and we said, this is okay.
She's good,
now we went back to CAR and relaxed and waited for the broadcast. It was I don't know what exactly it was that the president what was going to talk about, but we waited and we had Leonard from location. He said, mtangazaji wa zamu, kama unaweza kunipata, njoo hapa Ikulu mara moja. And us guys, because we know that this signal is through onto the studio,
you're just waiting.
Yeah, we are waiting for Obege to go to location.
Yes.
So we waited. So Leonard Mambo said the same thing the second time again. I said, mtangazaji wa zamu, tafadhali kama unaweza kunipata, njoo huku Ikulu mara moja. For the second time. So we wondered what is happening, but we said, the signal is through. So actually Leonard Mambo said, mtangazaji wa zamu, the last thing we had, he said that, mtangazaji wa zamu, ukiweza kunipata, nyoa hicho kipindi pole pole, uje mara moja. Hey,
State House is calling.
State House is calling. So me and my friend, we wondered, what is happening? There must be a problem or what?
How many times did he do this?
He called like 13 times. I can remember that very well.
Oh my goodness.
13 times. Then the next thing we heard was the national anthem.
That means no more talking.
No more talking.
Yeah.
No more talking. You know, we rushed to the studio. Rushed to the studio, and immediately we entered the studio. Obege had her headphones on and all that, and she turned and saw us. Immediately she saw us.
She knew something was wrong. She just put her fader up.
Fader up, nothing, you know, and wow. We waited. We knew this is not normal. Remember, Kabarua Kanakuja.
So at that point you knew Barua inatembea hapa.
Things were bad. But you know, from a technical and professional point of view, we believed we had done our part.
Yeah.
Because the connectivity and all that.
What did you find out? What had actually happened with the baby?
She was actually monitoring. Why I can comfortably say it was during the Nairobi ASK show. There was a program that was also coming from location at the showground. Yeah, and this was a paid up program. Yeah, and some of the paid up programs, you know, the decision was, you know, okay, this is a paid up program, and then there is this presidential and all that. I think it must have, I don't know whether it confused it, but of course you would have expected, you know, that the presidential would have gotten the first year. Yeah, and that is why, you know, Leonard was saying, hicho kipindi kinyoe pole pole.
I love that language.
But at that time, you know, of course, you've heard of Linjero. He was Moi's assistant. Later on, communication attaché or something later on.
He was no joke.
Yeah, he was no joke. He was actually in charge of, you know, the whole technical crew and all that, you know, in location and all that. And we knew if he came to KBC that day, everybody in that line, you know, would have had the sound. Whoa, he was a no-nonsense guy. And he actually made the rules and made the orders. So we waited for, what did you say? Barua Itembe? Well, luckily.
You must have said all your prayers that day.
It was, I think, towards the end of the week. So actually we got him summoned. Like the following week, must have been on a Wednesday. And we went for the first time, we got the privilege of entering the
MD's office.
The MD's office, yeah. That time it was a gentleman by the name of Lenasieko. Yeah. So, and we were summoned there, all of us, Obege, me, Obege, my friend William. Yes. So we sat there, you know, and the gentleman Lindsay.
Oh, he came?
Yeah, he came.
Oh my goodness.
Whoa, whoa. So we said we're going to be fried like nobody's business. So we gave all our case, the whole case and all that, and and luckily, for an MD who he takes up your case and has your back, after you talking, he said, this one we're going to sort it out, Do you know that thing just went like that? It just went like that, and nothing, no letter, nothing.
It's like he took the bullet for you.
Yeah, he took the bullet for us. And I think that one, for me, it taught me so much about maybe leadership sometimes. For you to be credible, for you to have, clout, you got to have, your employees back all the time. And maybe say, okay, take the responsibility. If these guys didn't know what they were doing, okay, take the responsibility. But after giving out our case, it was very, very genuine. I mean, we've done what we could have done professionally, technically, as per the time.
Wow. That's the technical name. I'm loving this. Let's now go back to your news reading. How did you get there?
Wow. Hey, I think I was just intrigued, by reading, somehow, and I for a long time I just told myself, okay, it would be nice to read. It would be nice to read. But I think maybe my upbringing and all that, and maybe what I got from, I would say, from my dad too, in his mid-80s at the moment. He still speaks very, very well in English. And I think from a very, very early age, he spoke, I would say, Kizungumingi.
And especially
in the house and all that.
From dad.
Yeah, from dad, then you say, you follow up, and maybe, and I think it must have rubbed in me one way or another. Then another good thing, I can remember very well in my class 5 at Ishima Primary School, we had an English teacher by the name of Mrs. Nyanga. She told us stories in English. She never spoke in Kiswahili, she spoke in English. And she told us stories, and they came alive, And I said, this is, from there, she said, if you can speak, we'll just speak. And me and a friend of mine, we just pick it up and we'll just speak it. This is an inner city council primary school. I'm just speaking English.
When a day. That's what people say now.
When a day.
When a day.
So we took it up, and me and my friend, I had my friend who was called Samuel, and who would be speaking English, at the least opportunity, and almost looking funny. What are you trying to do? Kizungumingi. So then from there, luckily I went to also technical high school. Our English teacher was a Satan, Mr. Khan, who used to write articles in the Standard at that time, and basically on language and things like that. And one time, he came and he said, I can't forget this. He said, it's not school. He said, it's school. Oh, we laughed. How do you say school? And also,
when you were reading, I was like, isn't that the part we say proprietor?
Proprietor. Oh my, proprietor, that sounds almost the rule. So anyway, I'll say I've had very good backgrounds of very, very good English speakers, and from technical institute, high school, that was the Nairobi Technical Institute. So he was of Asian origin, but he spoke very, very well.
For someone who's looking to read the news, for example, in the newsrooms, what would you tell them? What happens before you go on air?
You see, okay, I'll tell you, each and every bulletin, and for the people who go either before the mic, or behind the camera, or before the camera, or behind the before the microphone, if you're not having butterflies, however much you've prepared, then something is amiss. Because each and every bulletin for me comes with its own intrigues. Because one bulletin, you know, you are reading, you are as good as your last bulletin. Yeah. So what I will say is that the preparation takes quite a bit. It is not really about sometimes about the story, because it's about the delivery in such a manner that you'll actually be talking one-on-one with the person who's listening. Yeah. So how well do you want to do? How well do you want to do it in such a manner that they can actually feel that you are talking to them and communicating to them, you know, as a person. Forget about the mob or anything like that, but as a person. So what initially what would happen is we'll have the bulletin, which was actually, of course, on a sheet of paper, an A4 sheet of paper, and then we'll actually be able to mark the punctuation. Marking the punctuation pattern is very, very crucial. So you know, here I'm going to make my comma, and here I'm going to have a definite stop. Even when the full stop is there, but you want to make it so definite, and you want to create, you know, that element of flow, so that maybe you're coming out, you know, as, you know, in proper speech to the person who's listening. Now, this takes a lot of preparation. Means going through the bulletin, from internalizing from the beginning all the way to the end. Yeah. So
that tells us about something about timeliness for our
timeliness. What has happened is that for the longest time, when I started reading news, it was mandatory that you are there in the newsroom at least 1 hour, 45 to 1 hour before the news, because there was only the 6 o'clock news, 7 o'clock news, and then there was the 1 o'clock news, then the 7 o'clock, 7 p.m. news, and the 9 o'clock news. So then you had to be there, because your editors, they spend a lot of time, you know, putting the news together, collecting it out and all that. So
it can't fail at the delivery stage.
It cannot fail. It cannot fail. And like you are always told, you know, you're the final editor. Yes.
You might want to change some words.
Yeah, you might want to change, but the editing is basically in the delivery. How well do you deliver it? Yes.
Wow. Okay. Well, there are instances, especially in the past, where you'd read something and it's not come out so well, and you may be called up about it or something.
I'll give you an instant. I shared this with many people, but on my it is not that something went wrong.
Yeah.
I was doubling up in CAR and still reading, still in VOK.
Yeah.
Remember, it is the only station.
Yes.
So I had read the 6 o'clock news. So I take my bulletin, and you know the order of the bulletin is very, very, very definite. You cannot change, you cannot do it. So I took my bulletin, I forwarded it to CAR, and my colleague that time, there was a lady in CAR, she's now the head of CAR, very hardworking. She's called Nancy Mugani.
Nancy. Oh yeah, Nancy, I know.
Yeah, Nancy Mugani.
Yeah.
So, and she asked me, Omandi kwani, hii bulletin yenu kwani nakaanga aje? So she picks my bulletin. And she picks my bulletin, and then she's going through it. You know me, I'm just there, you know, relaxing, you know, and waiting for 7 o'clock. So when she gives it back to me, of course I see the headlines are on top.
So you think
I know this is okay. Then I go to the studio. It's still the same studio English service that we have now.
Yes.
So, but that time, you know, we would take a seat, you know, forget about opposite the presenter. There used to be a small desk just on the side, you know, where the newsreaders used to sit. So I went there, and who was in the studio at that time? Larry Wambua. So Larry Wambua, so I go there, he cues me after he's done the drums and all that. He cues me, and I am there. He leaves the studio and goes to the canteen. So I'm there, you know, I've said, and here is the news read by Nicholas Omondi. And first, you know, the main items. Then
you find it.
No. Then I said, okay, and fast, you know, the highlights, I can't remember exactly. So I read the highlights. Then after reading the highlights, then did I say good morning and welcome to blah blah blah. So I go to the first item, and my first item was British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher.
on days when this used to be President Daniel Arap Moi.
Oh my God, Millicent, you know, I don't know what, you know, shaking, sweating, and you know, everything bad that could happen to anybody was happening in me at that particular moment. So I look at the British Prime Minister. How did it get to be the number one? Do you know, I flipped through, and as I'm flipping through, you know, the
people
papers
can feel.
Yeah. People can feel the and I'm throwing the papers down, son, you know. Then when I got hold of President Moi,
oh my goodness,
I read it.
You know, those are the days Moi can say, and you, the president is in Britain, you're colonizing us again.
Oh my. I sweated. But I read the first item, President Daniel Arap Moi, and put it aside. I then shuffled a little bit, got in another national item, local. I read it. Then after I had done, okay, I remember I put the Thatcher story somewhere, you know, somewhere, so that when it comes to the, then I got another, I think third or fourth, you know, local. I read, and then after that, you know, I said, you are into news from the Voice of Kenya, English Service Voice of Kenya, blah blah. And then I said, okay, now on to international news. I got in my Thatcher story. Then I got in, I think, another one story, and to conclude this news bulletin, you know. Then I got in my highlights, and I was having like about a few seconds in between because I'm looking for
those stories.
Do you know, luckily it was on a weekend, on a Sunday morning. It was on a Sunday morning, and I think it must have been my third or fourth bulletin. And I said, I'm getting out of this roster even before I've started. Oh, the challenges. Well, do you know, I went to the canteen. That time it was a small makeshift. Forget about this brand.
What we have now.
Yeah. It was a very small, and I said, let me just go there.
Take some tea or something.
Take some tea, so that when the calls start coming, that luckily there were no mobile phones. It was the landline.
Yes.
So I sat there and I said, let me just wait and get the, you know, I'm ready to take it. I don't know what happened. I shouldn't have let that happen. I should have checked my bulletin, but it is now. Seen the highlights.
Things happen.
Things happen.
Yeah.
So then Udoni calls me, comes into whatever, calls me, hey, Omondi, kuna simu. I said, this is it.
Simu was like a bad letter.
Was kuna simu. So I thought that, hey, anyway, kameanza lakini kamekatika, no big deal. It was not to be.
Yeah.
So then when I hear a very excited voice on the other side. Sasa Nick. I say, poor son. Mijoro. That's a friend of mine in my school, Richard Jorodi. He says, hey man, kumbe siku hizi unasoma news. Hey bana, na unasomaje vipoa hivyo? Lakini bana, ulikuwa na maposes
It's because you're new.
Bana, unasoma vipoa sana. Hiyo poa sana. Man, congratulations bana, congratulations. So asante sana. Me in my heart I'm saying this is not the phone I was waiting for.
Yeah. And you're also telling yourself, I can imagine the way I'm good, so I'm going to get myself off this.
Yes.
That's when people are starting to celebrate.
God, we're just starting to celebrate me now that is ending, you know. That bad phone call, I'm waiting for it up till now.
Oh my God.
Oh my. I'm waiting for it up till now.
God is good.
God is good.
Oh.
God is good. Because that time you couldn't mess up.
Yeah.
You couldn't mess
That
up.
would be it.
And like, forget about nowadays whereby, you know, you have stories, you know, written, you know, in all sorts of ways, you know, you go through a bulletin.
So the DMS,
and sometimes, you know, you've got young editors, they are able to write a story and it is just carried. That time you had to sit on the desk for your story to be carried. Because we had some of the very, very seasoned writers and editors. Yeah. So you can imagine those editors, before your story goes even to be scheduled to be read, you know, no, just to be on the to be lined up, you know, in the schedule. Whoa, no. You had some of the most seasoned. So you can imagine all these guys, they put their heads together to do this bulletin.
Yeah.
And then you go and mess it up.
Well, they wouldn't allow it.
Oh, they wouldn't allow it.
Yeah.
Sema huyo kijana huyo.
Huyo mtoe. You can't take the whole day making something, then you just read it first.
Then you just mess it up.
Wow.
So it started like that, and we just continued, and so after a while, okay, we opened up some of our, because my core business basically was on
technical.
Yes. So we opened up some transmitter stations all over the country. It was called the modernization project. It was a big project that still owns KBC to date. It is the medium wave. It was called the medium wave modernization project of 1991-1992. That the KBC and the government, you know, the government through KBC something, you know, a very huge amount of money to Japan. That unfortunately up till to date, it is actually, you know, like not a bad debt, but it's a debt, you know, that KBC is yet to honor. That is now, by that time, we're talking about, the whole project was at around 2.4 billion in around 1991, 1992. But as of now, we are talking of something slightly more than 100 billion. Yeah, that is yet to be paid. So, but I don't know how it's gonna find out, how it's gonna play out.
It's so great. As we end this, I want you to talk to somebody who wants to join the media industry, and just talk about how media can really be used to shape this society, and what it would take if they want to be in the technical or even you know, as readers or something.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
I would say that.
And you talk about the sacrifice as well.
Yeah.
You know, people always expect, even during the national holidays, they want to listen to the news and all that. They might not be thinking in terms of how much sacrifice really goes into, you know, those who actually are there to talk to us, even on sad times. You know, let's get to know that.
Yeah, the thing is that basically being in the industry, or it's basically a calling. Whether on your own infrastructure or your own content, because there are those two sides. Yeah, if you are on the technical side, basically you're dealing with infrastructure. When you're on the production and on the content side, you're dealing of course with things, production, presentation, and all that. And so for me, I've been privileged enough to be on both sides and to be able to know exactly what is happening on both sides. And interestingly, for the national broadcaster, whether you are on infrastructure or you are on the content side, it is still a sacrifice. It is a sacrifice because news once it's broken and it is not broken the way it needs to, then it's basically still. Yeah, and so media houses, and that is why, you know, they are working hard to be as current as possible, to be the ones who are breaking the news, to be the ones who are presenting the news in the best way possible. And I will say, you know, the viewer or the listener at home, yeah, is waiting for that news, or maybe is waiting to watch the news, or is waiting to hear what is happening and what is current. And so it means that the person, the entity or the media house, you know, that is charged, you know, with ensuring that this information reaches the viewer, has got to put in that extra time. It means, you know, like you said, sacrifice, you know, working odd hours, sometimes being called or being out, you know, very, very late, starting late, for example. If you're doing a dawn shift, you know what a dawn shift means. You are up and early by 4 o'clock, you're up. So if you combine it with anything else, maybe if you're doing a dawn shift and you find yourself doing maybe an evening shift together at the same time, then what happens is that you leave when your people are sleeping and you come back when they've slept.
Used to happen when I was producing breakfast.
So you know that.
I would leave at 4 in the morning and come back at 10. You leave when they're sleeping, you come back when they're sleeping.
Yes.
So that can be an issue again with families. So you know, just tell us now that we are getting to know Nico Mondi, and of course before we end the show, does Nick have a family? We have another Nico Mondi coming up. You know, have they been inspired? Someone to at least take on.
I'm married. I'm married. Of course, I'm married to Mary. She's been my friend for the longest time. Mary Kahigo Mondi, and we have 3 boys. And my eldest son, he's taken economics, you know, and he finished from Swarthmore University. My second born son is he's a hands-on person, more like me, so he wants to do civil engineering, which is a good thing, you know. And
Daddy wanted to be a pilot, remember?
Yeah, I wanted to be a pilot. Now the person who wanted to be a pilot was my second born son, because actually he from the school he went to Mango, and he thought that maybe that would work well in that direction. But of course you have those ideas, but then later on it's only a fruit that does not change its mind.
Yes.
So right now he's doing civil engineering. Yeah, and then we've got now the baby in the house. He's always wanted to be a lawyer, but I don't know. Along the line, maybe he might want to do something else. But he's now on his first year, you know, in school. You know, so he's a Form 1 student going home to his Form 2. So basically that's the family. Yeah. And so we have a dog.
I love that. We have some time for a pet.
Yeah, we have a dog that we love so much.
Must be having a name.
Yeah, she's called Nala.
The only she.
Oh yeah. So basically that's the family.
Wow.
And
that is so beautiful. Yeah.
And I just thank God for all these guys.
Nick, I'm so happy you found time for us.
Yeah.
I'm so glad that finally we have a place where journalists' voices can be heard.
Right.
You know, people rarely get to know about some of the things that that journalists go through when they go out there to get stories, or even how they bring stories, and sometimes the stories die because some prominent guy died and everything else became in the news. You know, what goes on behind the scenes, the phone calls. Sometimes when you're watching, tell you something goes wrong and you're like, there must be someone who might lose their job here.
Yes.
You know?
And for TV, it's even worse.
It's worse, you know? Yeah, because when there's a gap, you can imagine if what you were reading on radio that day was the wrong side up and it was TV, you know?
Yeah. No, I done TV sometime. I done TV in, I think in 2000. And it's unlike now when you can actually have a feedback. And you see, TV is about, you know, also being real onto the stories that are happening.
Yeah.
And being able to connect with them, you know, as being part of the story. Yeah. And I think I remember we had a problem that we didn't have the talkback, the sound talkback. So what would happen is that we just see the pictures, but not know what is happening. So what happened is that we had a clip. It was actually a comical clip of how Bill Clinton was going to spend his days after retiring as the President of the United States. But it was a comical clip. And everybody in the background was laughing. But because I could not get whatever was happening, so what did I see? You know, I was seeing a very, you know, he's like a humbled president, you know, he's going about things. So when I back announced, of course I don't back announce with the comedy, you know, whatever that. Yes, and I said, you know, that kind of disconnect, you know, won't put your listeners in the same sync, and some of those things, you know, would actually water down, you know, and otherwise very, 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 very good story.
Wow, wow. So it's good. Finally, we can get to hear what happens behind the scenes, and today we are actually, you know, at a greater position because we have someone who's been a newsreader and is also a technical guy. So he's been able to give us both sides of that divide, and we can actually learn something, and especially the discipline that goes with journalism. Thank you so much for bringing that. Any last words you have for us?
I would just like to say, having been in the crowd, in the both divides.
Yes.
My question is that how well are we doing to create content? Because the digital platform has opened the media space and made it very wide.
Yes.
So my question is, do we have enough good content that can actually be able to change the perception of our viewers and our viewers and listeners in a positive, impacting them in a positive way, wherever we are, because now we can make stories from wherever we want to. And the thing is that, are we doing good stories that can actually impact and change society? Are we filling it up with? Are we filling it with what I would call sensational stories that don't, you know, just for the enjoyment of it, that don't challenge us to be better people, that don't maybe inspire us to want to reach a higher level, either spirituality or of innovation and enterprise. You know? So
more journalists, you have more work to do. The space is now there, and it's for you to go out there and bring the stories to the world. Thank you so much, Nick.
Thank you so much, Millicent, for having me. It's been a great pleasure.
All right. Pleasure too. My name is Millicent Aroka, and this is Journalists.